Lovelies, this is Megan from Little Hot Tamale, and today we are going to make geotag embellishments. To start off, we're going to use a piece of paper and we're just going to fold over one side just a little bit, and we're going to draw like half teardrops or water droplets, and then a circle with like a half triangle, and then a half heart with a half triangle. So then we're just going to cut those out on the side where we did the pencil. You don't want to cut down the middle because these are going to be our templates. Now this one kind of reminds me of a golf ball on a tee. And you just can keep like trimming it if it's not how you like it. Alright, so there you go. And you can also make these a lot smaller. So there's a half teardrop again, or a water droplet. And then just cut those out. Now, I always like to have this as a template and then draw these on a piece of cardstock and then use that cardstock as my main pattern because it makes it a lot easier to trace around something that has some body to it. And the paper I'm using today is by Tamale. And I really like the color scheme, and I thought that the patterns that were in the paper pad were really appropriate because there was a, I want to say cityscape, but that's not right. It's just a map of a city. Okay, so for these, I'm just going around the edges roughly with a black pen, and it's a micron, but I usually use a Sharpie, but this is what I had on my desk at the moment. And then I typed out some phrases. This one says, "In my happy place," and I just wanted something that was kind of simple that I can use on anything. But if you have a trip planned, you can always do like whatever city you're going to. You can be like Chicago bound or something like that. Now I'm just going to layer some strips of paper. So I did crepe paper, glitter ribbon, the phrase, and I stapled them all together and placed the star on top. And then of course I had to add a half pearl and a gemstone to make it a little bit more fancy, I guess. Okay, so we're going to make a center, and I'm just using a scallop circle punch, but if you don't have a scallop circle punch, you can always use a quarter, and that works perfectly. It won't have a scallop though, but that's okay. Okay, so if you put washi tape behind your embellishments, like if you're going to draw around them, it will help keep them in place. So it makes it a lot easier so it doesn't move while you're trying to draw on it. Now I just made a heart shape. I could have used a punch, but I wanted to show you you don't have to use a punch. Okay, so I'm using terrifically tacky tape or sticky thumb adhesive on the back of my heart because I'm going to add a little bit of messy thread on the back side, and I find this is the easiest way for me to attach the thread. Now I kind of used too much thread, if that's even possible. But anyway, I think it made it a little bit harder since it was just a small surface. And then in the center, I wanted to spell out the word love, so I typed it out on my typewriter. But if you don't have a typewriter or you don't have a printer at home, you can always just write out the word love. Okay, so for our next embellishment, we're going to punch a hole in the center of our geotag. So first I punched a circle, then I traced around the circle and use that line as a guide because I'm not very good at judging when I place my geotag inside of the hole punch because it's usually off center. Okay, so now we're just going to glue our phrase over the hole, and there you go. Now if you don't have a hole punch, you can always use a dime and trace that and then cut it out and then glue that to the center. And then on top of the circle, you can glue a phrase. But for this one, we're going to spice it up and back it on some glitter ribbon. So this would be really cool if you go to Disney World and you have those maps. You can always punch out the different areas that you go in the park and use that as the circle part of your geotag. And I think that would be so awesome. The mini ones, we're just going to put a cute little gemstone in the center. Now, again, I'm using the method of tracing around the circle. And for this one, I have to attach it to another piece of paper because it's so small and I can't hold on to it if I place it inside of the hole punch. So that's a nice little tip when you're working with tiny scrap paper. Okay, you can also do different shapes in the center like hearts or maybe stars depending on what you want to do. Okay, so for this one I put road trip and then I used a crepe paper rosette behind it and it really makes it pop. And I'll leave a link down below for the crepe paper tutorial if you want to check that out. And for this next one I just used my love punch. And then I did the same thing we've been doing with tracing the circle, but this time the circle is closer to the top with a tiny one. Alright, I love doing this. Okay, this is mixed media on the edges. Well, it's not, I don't know if you'd call it mixed media. It's paint. You paint the edges, just roughly, and then set that aside and we're just going to use some of our stamps. And these are from Michael's and I think they're $1.50 or maybe $3. And we're just going to stamp out the word explore and we're just going to cut out each one of those individually and then glue them to a piece of paper. And I chose vellum paper. Alright, and then I'm just going to set that aside and now we're going to take our geotag again and we're going to wipe it on our ink pad and it gives it a nice effect, kind of like a rough look, I guess you'd say. And now we're just going to staple our explore title on there and I put 2 on one side and 1 on the other. And then of course I have to add my half pearls and my gemstone. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Build Your Stash. And if you decide to make a few geotags, please share your creations on Instagram with the hashtag #LittleHotTamale because I would love to see what you created. Thank you again for watching and I hope you have an amazing day. Toodles!